again, everybody, and welcome back. In the last video I showed you the different modes you can set your camera in via the wheel up top here, and right now I'm going to go over just the basic controls and functions and what the buttons do on your camera, so you know you're not always saying, what does this button do? Because I did that for a really long time, and you necessarily won't find it in the manual sometimes and all that kind of good stuff. So of course, up top you have the on switch. Most people of course know that. Starting with the front of the camera, right here is to release the lens. So you push this down, twist the lens, and it'll pop off, and then you can change it with another lens. If you push this button with a little lightning bolt, if your camera has a built-in flash, it will pop up. So if you're maybe in manual mode and you know, you need the flash to freeze something or to light up a person's face because you want the background to be silhouetted, then you can just hit this button and the flash will pop up and fire when you choose it to. And down here, I don't even know if you can see that, there's a little button right there, and that's your depth of field preview button. So if you push that while looking through the camera, it'll tell you what your depth of field looks like. And then on most cameras, on the side here, and sorry for not saying this earlier, but this is a Canon 60D, just to show you kind of the basics if you didn't watch the other video. You have your little speaker port right there if you're shooting in video, and then as you can see right here, you have different selections. So when you flip up this little thing, you can use this to put in a cable release, HDMI, a mic, all that kind of good stuff. I really only use it for the cable release. Sometimes I'll use the USB port if I'm shooting tethered to my computer, and so that's always an option. I'm not going to cover the stuff on the battery grip since most people don't seem to have them, but these buttons are the same up top here, so you'll get to see what those are. On most cameras you have a little slot where the memory card comes in and out. The Canon 60D takes an SD memory card, and so that just slides in there and you close it. And when you turn the camera off, it'll say sensor cleaning, and sometimes when you turn it on, it'll say sensor cleaning. And what that just means is the sensor will do all kinds of its little good stuff with electricity and small little vibrations to try and get the dust off of the sensor. And I'll cover that in another video of what if you have spots in your photo. That's usually because you have something on your sensor, and so the image is capturing that little dust particle on your picture and you may not realize it. So starting kind of on the top of the camera, this little great thing right here is your hot shoe mount, and that's where if you have a flash, and I don't have one next to me I can grab really quick, but your flash will just slide in there and lock in. And so for example, if you're shooting with, let me grab one real quick, a 580 EX2 or a 430 flash, or even the new 600 flash, when you're using your flash, here's a Canon 580 EX2, and so you will take the flash and point it down, and as you can see on the bottom of the flash, it has the same hot shoe mount. So when you slide it onto your camera, it'll click on and you can lock it on, and when you turn the flash on itself, it will sync up with the camera and tell the flash to fire when you take a picture. So that's used for your hot shoe flash. You can also put on external mics and other kind of good stuff to that for video and different things like that. And a lot of people don't know what this is right here, and I'm not going to spin it. It's I don't know if it's called the reticle or what it is. Basically it's kind of like corrective vision. So I wear glasses, so when I look through the viewfinder, if I manually focus a picture, because my prescription is kind of off at the moment, sometimes the pictures will be a little soft. They won't be tack sharp focus. So what you can do with this is when you move it up and down, it actually changes the, I guess, angle of the viewfinder in a sense. So it's kind of like tuning it to your eye. So when you're looking through the viewfinder, it's sharp and you're not focusing to what your eye's vision is. You're focusing the camera to be spot on. And I probably didn't explain that too well. However, if your eyesight's not the greatest, or if your eyesight's perfect, if you just kind of spin this back and forth, you'll see what I mean as far as how it changes the focus when you're looking through it to hopefully get your focus to be sharp when you're looking through it. Up top you have your shutter button. If you push it halfway down, it'll use the metering system, and that'll light up inside the camera. And right here, this is kind of what you'll see in the camera. So when I push it down, as you can see, there's a little notch right there on the 2. And if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it's kind of moving. So then if I change the shutter speed, when you're looking through the camera, you have this, and once you get it right in the middle, that's where your picture should be perfectly exposed. So if you take that picture, of course it's just of a table, it'll be properly exposed. Now in the camera, if you go plus or minus, that'll change the photo. So if I go minus, and I can get it to focus and take a picture, it's going to be underexposed. But of course, if I move it to plus and I take a picture, it will be overexposed. So you always want to try and get that right in the middle when looking through the camera, and unless you're trying to go for something a little overexposed or underexposed for maybe a silhouette or something. And so that's what that little metering inside the camera is when you press the shutter halfway down, and when you push it fully down, of course, it takes a picture. And then you have this little wheel up here, and when you move that wheel, that changes the shutter speed. And so when you're looking inside the camera, you have a little picture of this kind of underneath the camera right here, underneath the picture. It'll be digitally displayed, and that's your metering system. And so when you're actually looking through the camera, you can turn this wheel and you will see what the shutter speed is in your camera, so you're not always having to, take your eyes off the photo to change all the settings. And that's really helpful when you're in manual mode doing different things. Also up top, you have this little button right here, which lights up the screen. You probably can't tell. It's a little difference, but it'll light up the screen if you're outside, so you can look and see, maybe what your ISO is or all that kind of good stuff. If you push the ISO button, you can look here, here, or through the viewfinder, and using either the wheel or the knob, you can change your ISO to what you want it to, and then you just click set, and you can change your ISO that way. You can also have your drive, which is where you can change from single shooting to high speed continuous to low speed continuous to a 10-second self timer. So when you click the shutter button down to take the picture, it'll wait 10 seconds before you take the picture. If you're at a family reunion and you set up your camera on a tripod, of course you want to be in the photo as well, you can do that. Also, there is a 2-second self timer, so if you are kind of shaky and you need that extra little time, and then if you just press set on whatever you choose, it will set it. Also up top it says AF, and that's for your autofocus, and so you can change it to all focus, all servo, that kind of good stuff. And once again, just click set. And so these are just kind of your fast buttons, so when you're in the camera, you can just move your finger, boom, change the ISO, use the wheel, and you can set them quickly. Over here, this is your record button if you're in video mode, and also live view. So when you push it, the camera will go into live view, and so if you're taking a macro shot, you can change it once you get it focused, and then you can take the picture and it'll take a picture. Of course, it's way underexposed, but that's live view. So next is your AF button, and that's to turn the autofocus on. And so with AF, if you go to all servo and click that and you press AF well in the camera, it'll track the focus of whatever you're shooting. So as you can see, the little meter is moving because it's coming up with different exposures while focusing, so you're not always having to hold the shutter button halfway down. Then you also have these two buttons, which can change your autofocus points, and or if you're inside a image, you can zoom in on the image by pushing that button, and then you can circle through other images and it'll stay that zoomed in. And so those are pretty much just used if you are viewing your picture, zooming in and out. Of course, you next have your menu button. You can use the wheel to scroll up through your things, and it's different on all cameras, or you can use the dials to change through the menus. And so you can set your white balance, your exposure compensation. If you're doing multiple exposures for an HDR, you can set all the things to the functions you want, and then you can format your memory card. So I just always have it set, so when I click menu, format your memory card, since I have all the settings to what I want them to be. Next you have your quick button, and this is best used in manual mode. When you click it, you can then go and change things to what you want, and then you can cycle through. So say I need to change the autofocus mode, I just quickly scroll over there, click set, and then I can change it to all servo or whatever I want, set again, boom. And so that's just, if you need to quickly, change something, you can just hit the quick button, scroll up through and do all that kind of good stuff. Next is the info button. If you hit the info button, it'll change it to a dark screen. Hit it again, it'll tell you all, the stats of your pictures and all that kind of good stuff. If you hit it again, it'll show you a little leveling thing. So it'll show you, where you need to be so that your camera is level. Hit it again, it brings you back to this screen. I always just stay on this screen because it has all the information on it. Now, if you go into a photo, and you can change this. Right now, if I'm just viewing the photo, I can have it set at this. If you hit info once, it tells you what the picture number is and what your aperture and your shutter speed were, and also the file number of the photo. If you click it again, I also use this a lot, it gives you a histogram, which is really nice, so you can see if your highlights are blown out, if you don't have enough darks. It tells you your ISO, all the good stuff you could possibly want to know about your photo is right there. And then if you click out of it and hit play again, it'll still be up there. So then you can click info to see, your color and different things. So you can change, the way you want to view your picture in playback mode, and it'll stay like that. And then of course the little play button is if you want to play a movie back that you captured or your picture. Then you have your reel, which changes your aperture when you're in manual and some of your other settings. And this one also has a little touchy thing right here, which is kind of like your little joystick control, so you can move through menus and do different things. And then with the battery grip, you have the same buttons as far as the autofocus, the shutter button, and all that kind of good stuff. And all a battery grip does is it just puts a second battery into the camera, so it gives your camera double the battery life. And so that's kind of the general overview of what most of these buttons do. Last but not least, so I don't forget, I guess, you also have your trash can button. So if you're viewing a photo and you don't want to get rid of it later, you just click the trash can, you go over to erase, click set, and it'll just delete that photo. And so that's kind of, the general overview of what most of the buttons do on a DSLR. As far as the battery grip goes, you also still have your tripod mount on the bottom, and it also comes with a little strap mount. So if you have a hand strap, you can mount it to here, and then the top where your normal strap mounts. And it's just like anything. It's really simple to use. You just unscrew this and it'll pop out, and it actually screws into the tripod mount on the bottom of the camera. And as you can see, it goes into the battery grip, and when you take it off, this is what your normal camera would look like. You can save your little door that would go on the bottom of the camera right there. You put your battery in, and so all this does is give it double the battery life, because on the side you can stick 2 batteries in it instead of the one in your normal camera. So it does all the same things that the camera would normally do, but it just gives you a little added extra grip. For me, I have big hands, so it's nice that you have better control over the camera. It gives you double the battery life, but as well as if you're shooting like this, then you have to reach your hand over to change the shutter and click on the shutter button, whereas right here you can hold your camera like this comfortably. You have your shutter button, you still have your little dial, and it just fits comfortably like that, so you're not having to hold your camera the whole day like this, which gets to be a pain sometimes. So that's just the basic overview of what most of the buttons on a DSLR do. If you have any questions or things I left out, I know this was a long video, I may have forgotten something, but if you can think of anything, please just let me know in the comment section and I will address it. And of course, this is just a 60D, so it's kind of basic, but if you move up to some of the bigger cameras, like this is a 5D Mark III, you get all kinds of other buttons and settings and different things that you can do, which gets even more complicated and hard to use. But if anybody has any questions, please just let me know, and I hope this helps as far as if you're new to a DSLR, and thanks for watching. Bye.